Here's the question. How much would you pay to stop a shooter at your kid's school?
Yeah, an $850 million bond for Northside ISD could make dozens of school lobbies bulletproof. Eyewitness News reporter Addie Guajardo is live on the northwest side with a closer look at the proposal. Addie?
Collies North Elementary School is one of dozens of schools on a list that would get a security lobby upgrade if the bond is indeed approved.
The 2018 bond would pay for the creation of bullet-resistant lobbies like these at 44 elementary schools.
Every time we've had a school shooting in the country, we've attempted to try to learn from the tragedy. And one of the things that we know that enhances security on a campus is let's look at who's coming in our building and let's vet them before we allow them access.
About half of the schools in Northside ISD received an upgraded lobby like this one under the 2014 bond.
So as you can see, until we're buzzed in, these doors will not open.
The new entrances require visitors to check in before entering the campus for a background check. Once they're cleared, a name tag prints out and the visitor is buzzed in. More than $30 million is allocated for the security upgrades. But there are other plans that carry a heavier price tag.
If I had to pick kind of the two that are the most influential, it's the new schools and then renovation and reconstruction at our much older schools.
Pat Neff Middle School would get more than $9 million in upgrades.
$5.9 million would go to renovating and upgrading the campus cafeteria, which is significantly smaller.
Under the bond proposal, the district would build 4 new schools. If passed, for an average home valued at nearly $219,000, taxpayers would pay an extra $2.18 a month in 2019, and by 2020, an extra $22.10 a month.
Now, if this proposal is approved, it will not have an impact on senior citizens and their tax money. Now, everyone and the community can vote on this bond on Saturday, May 5th.
Addie, thank you for that live report. It does sound like a lot of money. So when was the last time NISD passed a school bond?
Yeah, Jeff, it is a lot of money, but the last bond was passed back in 2014. But the superintendent of North ISD says that the taxpayers have not seen an increase in the past 7 years. Back to you.
All right, Addie Guajardo reporting live for us. Thank you, Addie.